Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsey.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches.
He smells like spice. Like your house.
Now there's a video of all of us sniffing.
My iPad sits right under my spice rack as I'm cooking, so it always smells like cinnamon or
Yeah.
star anise.
I like it.
Whatever. This story is on Delphine LaLaurie. So this
Kathe
is
Bates.
Kathe Bates. This is our last NOLA story.
But Kathe Bates, man.
She's a fuck. Amazing.
Kathe Bates. Is
Kathe Bates. From Misery to Dolores Claiborne.
Waterboy.
To
Adam Sandler.
Waterboy, right? And then fried green tomatoes.
Oh, that one always kills me like my heart.
Oh, it's so good. Edgy thread good.
Had such a crush on Chris O'Donnell.
Oh. Buddy! Sorry.
Sorry, go
If
on.
you know, you know.
So Delphine LaLaurie.
Yes.
I'm going to start it off with a quote. So Ghost City Tours, quote, "The legend of Madame Delphine LaLaurie has grown into a pop culture phenomenon, and like most things in pop culture, the line between fact and fiction has faded. There is no denying that LaLaurie was a fascinating character in New Orleans history, but was this complicated woman really the femme fatale that your ghost tour guide would lead you to believe, or is she just one of history's most powerful and misunderstood women of the South?"
Well, and I mean, and that I think we've talked about in your episode, my episode as well, that these cases were so long ago and these people have become legends. And so it is really, and I think that's why none of us really enjoyed researching these cases because it is really hard to separate fact from fiction.
Based on a story, and then that person told the other. It's just like
right.
But the Vampire Brothers are still alive, so I just
yeah.
let you know.
And
I don't think I knew that.
And what's his face?
Saint Germain?
Saint Germain.
Jacques Saint Germain?
Jacques Saint Germain.
He's still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's a vampire.
Yeah. Because remember, like, he was the one that 40 years later, it was his grandson was throwing a big party.
That's right.
And then supposedly he popped up throughout
the
history.
80s.
Yeah. Kennedy's assassination.
He
was the one on the grassy knoll.
Okay, so bear with me. A lot of these names are Spanish and French. As we know, I'm going to do my best, but yikes, it's going to be rough. Delphine LaLaurie was born Marie Delphine McCarty on March 19th, 1787.
McCarty?
Yeah.
McCarty?
Yeah.
Like,
Could also be pronounced McCarthy. I saw both.
but even McCarthy, I'm just like,
McCarty.
McCarty.
Yeah. March 19th, 1787, to a wealthy family in New Orleans. She was one of 5 children. All the men in her family had military backgrounds, and her father, Louis Barthélemy de McCarty, was knighted as the, oh my God.
He's de McCarty.
The Chevalier of the Royal and Military Order of St. Louis.
He's an important man.
Her uncle was the governor of the Spanish-American provinces of Louisiana and Florida from 1785 to 1791, and her cousin was the mayor of New Orleans from 1850 to 18... Really, Emily? 1850 to 1820? Is that how time works? The point of me telling you all this is she came from a very well-known family.
She's got a lot of money.
She has a lot of money.
And power.
By 1794, her family had a 1,300-acre plantation that was next door to a famously wealthy Count Pierre-Philippe Mandeville de Marigny. Okay, wait. Before I continue, in case you didn't know, spoiler, she tortured a lot of slaves. The terminology that is used in a lot of this research is from sources at the time. So I'm just gonna read what I have.
Yes.
These are not my words.
These are not our opinions or our words.
Correct.
Yes. These are from sources.
Her story.
From a time gone by.
Yes.
That was not
that great of a time.
No.
There are records that show that quite a few of the McCarty men had relationships with free women of color or women of mixed race. Delphine's uncle, Eugene, even had a 54-year relationship with a woman of color. And her name was Eulalie Mandeville de Marigny.
My question would be, were those relationships consensual? Because, like, you could say, oh, like Thomas Jefferson, he had a 30-year relationship with an African-American woman and had children by her, but she was a slave. And so therefore...
Everything I read said they just seemed like a normal couple. And I don't know if you caught this. Her name was Eulalie Mandeville de Marigny, which was the name of the neighbor that Delphine grew up next to.
But I think that during that time, I could be wrong, but I think at that time, slaves, even after they were freed, carried the last name of their masters.
Oh, interesting.
But I could be wrong about that.
I think that is true.
Well, so it's Delphine's uncle who has the relationship with the woman, Eulalie, who was the daughter of an enslaved woman and the count, the neighbor.
Oh, okay.
So she was the product of a not consensual. Well, I don't know if it wasn't consensual, but it was with a slave and her
master.
I hate. Yeah,
I was like a terrible word.
I know,
but owner sounds worse.
Yeah, just let us have this. Okay,
the asshole that was keeping her against her will.
Yes. Eugene and Eulalie had 7 children together in what appeared to be a happy marriage. Eugene also had 5 women with 2 other free women of color.
Mm-hmm. He had 5 women with...
He had 5 children with 2 other free women of color.
I just was like, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, yes.
Right?
You were just going to roll with it.
It didn't register.
Delphine was just 4 when the Haitian Revolution began in 1791. So the Haitian Revolution was a successful rebellion by self-liberated slaves against French colonial rule in Saint Domingue.
The Haitian Revolution was a successful rebellion by self-liberated slaves against the French colonial rule in
Saint-Domingue,
now the sovereign state of Haiti. The revolution made slaveholders in the South and Caribbean super afraid of resistance and rebellion among slaves. It was like the first time that a revolution happened and the slaves won.
Right.
And so everyone was like, fuck. Delphine's own uncle was actually murdered in 1771 by his own slaves. The revolution had inspired the local mining conspiracy in 1791, the Point Coupe conspiracy in 1794, and the German Coast Uprising in 1811, all of which caused many slaveholders to discipline slaves even more harshly out of fear of insurrection. There's power in numbers, man. Like, there is power in numbers, and when you figure that out, that there's like no stopping you.
Yeah,
big time.
So all these slave owners were shitting themselves.
Which they should have been.
On June 11th, 1800, at 13 years old, Delphine married Don Ramon de Lopez y Angulo.
She's fucking 13.
He was a 35-year-old widower and a high-ranking Spanish royal officer at the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans. Louisiana had become a Spanish colony in the 1760s after France was defeated in the 7 Years' War, which I Googled. It did, in fact, last 7 years. In 1804, Don Ramon had been appointed to the position of consul general for Spain and was called to appear at the court of Spain. But while en route to Madrid with a pregnant Delphine, Don Ramon suddenly died in Havana. I also read that he went without her. I read that he was going as a punishment for something and they killed him along the way. I don't really know. I just know he died.
Okay.
There's also a story that he hit a sandbar and died, ? I don't really know what happened to him. A few days following his death, Delphine gave birth to their daughter, Marie Borgia Delphine Lopez y Angulo de la Candelaria.
All right, there comes
Wait,
a point.
she has a nickname. Borquita.
Borquita!
Isn't that cute? In 1807, a 20-year-old Delphine married Jean Blanc, a prominent banker, merchant, lawyer, and legislator, and together they had 4 children. At the time of the marriage, Blanc purchased a home at 409 Royal Street for the family, which later became known as Villa Blanca. Shout out to Lisa Vanderpump and her restaurant, Villa Blanca.
I was
Real
just
Housewives.
thinking that's really familiar.
Yeah. Her second husband died 8 years after they got married. Delphine was left to settle the estate, which consisted of debts that totaled over $160,000, which I did Google how much money that would be today.
That's gotta be.
How much do you think?
2 million?
160,000?
2.2 million.
5 million.
2.5 million.
Bitch!
2.5 million in today's currency. Over the next few years, she auctioned off much of Blanc's property, including enslaved persons. She even purchased one piece of his property herself at auction, as well as retaining some of his slaves. It just sounds so icky.
Yeah,
It just
I don't
sounds
like
gross.
it.
Like, I feel like I know that I'm saying it politically correct, but like it sounds unpleasant coming out of my mouth, and I just need everybody to know that. Records show that 8 of the enslaved people she now owned died in a span of about 5 years. Most were children or women of childbearing age. The causes of death are unknown. And something to note, there was a lot of sickness at the time. It was
People
kind
did
of
have a
common.
long
Yeah,
lifespan.
long lifespan.
So that was that during the like yellow fever?
I don't know,
Okay.
but it was way before we had
modern medicine.
modern medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delphine's father passed away in 1824, leaving his children with a substantial inheritance. His daughter was included in his will, and he left her $5,000 and 2 slaves, which today would be worth about $138,000. On June 25th, 1825, Delphine married her third husband, physician Leonard Louis Nicholas LaLaurie,
Okay.
who was much younger than she was. I don't know how much younger, but
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes. in 1831, she bought property at 1140 Royal Street, which she managed in her own name with very little involvement from her husband. And by 1832, they had built a 3-story mansion there, complete with attached slave quarters. The marriage began showing signs of strain. And in November 1832,
Surprise.
Delphine filed for a separation, and 5 months later, Dr. Lauralee moved. Lauralee.
Dr. Lauralee.
Dr.
Next week
Lauralee.
on Gilmore Girls, Dr. Lauralee will be
Lauralee.
Lorelai.
Well, close.
I don't know.
whatever.
I didn't watch Gilmore Girls.
I didn't either.
It's Lorelai.
5 months after the separation, Dr. LaLaurie moved out of the home. At the time, New Orleans had laws, unlike in most of the southern states, that actually protected slaves from unusually cruel punishments. In public, LaLaurie was seen to be generally polite to Black people and conscious of her slaves' health.
Uh-huh.
And court records at the time show that LaLaurie even emancipated 2 of her own slaves. One in 1819, one in 1832. So from the outside, she was a good slave owner.
She appeared.
Yeah.
She gave the appearance.
She went to church every Sunday.
Church. Fine, upstanding woman.
Oh my God. In 1833, however, one of LaLaurie's neighbors actually saw a 12-year-old girl slaved named Leah fall to her death from the roof of the Royal Street Mansion while trying to avoid punishment. Leah had been brushing Delphine's hair when she hit a snag, causing Delphine to grab a whip and chase her, where she chased her onto the roof, and the girl just kept running and
I would
ran off.
keep running.
Yeah. My God.
That's horrific.
Delphine tried to cover it up, but the police found the body hidden in a well and made her bury her on her property.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, what the
Jesus.
fuck?
Well, I'm just like, the poor girl, now she's trapped on that property for eternity. But I guess it's better than I mean, at least hopefully she got a proper burial, not, forever interned in a well.
The incident led to an investigation of the LaLauries in which they were found guilty of illegal cruelty and forced to forfeit 9 slaves.
That's your punishment.
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
And I don't know how many she had, but I assume that was not all of them.
Like, that's the punishment. We're going to take
Yeah.
some of your slaves away, not, like, you actually have to.
Oh, you're going to rage quit on
Yeah.
just the whole story. Just
Okay.
don't even let it out yet, because
Okay.
you got to let it brew for a while, because
Okay.
it's going to just come out right at the end.
Okay.
Delphine found a loophole in the punishment, however,
Of course she
Yeah.
by secretly arranging for her relatives and friends to buy them back and return them to LaLaurie Mansion.
Oh my god.
There are also reported stories that LaLaurie kept her cook chained to the kitchen stove and beat her daughters when they attempted to free any of the slaves.
Wait, she beat the slave's daughter, or she beat her
Beat
own
her
children?
daughters when her kids wanted to like free them or talk to them or play, like do anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
you know.
because they probably raised the children.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
There's also a story that a man was so scared of punishment that he threw himself out of a third-story window, choosing to die rather than be subjected to Madame LaLaurie's torture. The third-story window was then cemented shut and is still visible today,
Oh yeah.
which is the picture that I sent you. We'll repost the orb photo, but I'll circle the window because I remember seeing it, and I don't remember if it was Michael or Colin that was like, why
What is
What
is that not a
one?
functioning window?
Yeah.
Where I found the orb and that window is the slave quarters. That's where it
Mhm.
would have happened if it happened.
That makes sense.
Harriet Martineau, writing in 1838 and recounting tales told to her by New Orleans residents during her 1836 visit, claimed LaLaurie's slaves were observed to be, quote, singularly haggard and wretched. On April 10th, 1834, a fire broke out in the kitchen of the LaLaurie mansion. Judge Jacques-François Canage, a neighbor of the LaLauries, was one of the first to arrive to the fire. Other neighbors quickly started to arrive and noticed that Delphine was trying to save her furs and jewels without the help of any of her slaves. People on the street noticed like faint moans and screams coming from the attic of the house. And someone goes, "Hey, dude, like, where are your slaves? Can we go get them and like make sure that they live
Yeah.
through this?"
Furs are definitely more important than
Totally.
human lives.
Yeah, seriously. It is reported that LaLaurie replied, quote, "There are those who would be better employed if they would attend to their own affairs instead of officiously intermeddling in the concerns of other people. Basically, fuck off and mind your damn business."
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a group of people burst into her burning house on a mission to find the slaves. While searching, they found a 70-year-old woman, the cook, chained to the stove by her ankle. She actually later confessed to them that she had set the fire as a suicide attempt for fear of her punishment, which was being taken to the uppermost room because she said, quote, "anyone who had been taken there never came back."
Oh fuck.
When they reached the attic, they immediately notice a smell, and some of them like immediately start vomiting, like right outside the door. When they opened the door, they found the torture chamber of Madame Marie Delphine LaLaurie. So if you remember, and I'm going to talk about Coven, but I mean,
Mhm.
I kind of,
Accurate.
That's all I keep thinking about.
I know. Me too.
I know, I want to watch
That whole
Coven
scene.
over. I want to watch the whole thing over because I'm not going to lie. When you hear like Hollywood takes liberties, you're like, okay. And like in this case, you're like, it was so extreme in Coven that you're like,
it was very.
you're
extreme.
like, this is out of control.
like it couldn't have been that bad.
No.
It was that bad.
I think probably the only thing that wasn't was that the horned
the bull man.
Yeah.
the bull guy. But like I feel like everything was probably spot on.
Judge Jean-Francois Canage, the neighbor, said he saw, quote, again, not my words.
It is so awful and
I don't
awkward
like
to
it.
say.
Tastes like vinegar coming
Yeah.
out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So a negress wearing an iron collar and, quote, an old Negro woman who had received a very deep wound on her neck who was too weak to be able. Oh, I'm sorry. Deep wound on her head who was too weak to be able to walk. The slaves were emaciated, showing signs of being flayed with a whip, were bound in restrictive postures, and wore spiked iron collars which kept their heads in static positions.
Ugh.
The New Orleans Bee reported they found, quote, 7 slaves, more or less horribly mutilated, suspended by the neck, with their limbs apparently stretched and torn from one extremity to the other, who claimed to have been imprisoned there for some months. If you thought there was a trigger warning, this is your trigger warning. It gets worse. A brief catalog of the ever-changing list of horrors people claim the would-be rescuers found in her attic include heaps of corpses. Heaps of corpses. Organs and limbs.
Oh, God.
Slaves pinned to tables or cramped in small cages. Live bodies with their eyes gouged. Fingernails torn out at the roots.
Blah.
Ears hanging by shreds of
Nope.
skin.
Nope.
Mouths filled with animal shit and sewn shut. People flayed of skin with festering wounds. Many accounts claim they found one woman whose skin had been peeled off in spirals to make her look like a caterpillar.
Oh.
Another with her bones broken and reset so that she resembled a crab. And one whose intestines had been torn out and knotted around the waist. Many of these victims, which some claim there were up to 100, were supposedly still alive, putrid and starving.
Is it just me?
Oh,
or
no,
does
wait,
Ed
there's-
Gein not sound as bad right now?
Oh, yeah, no, Ed Gein is a
Like,
gem
he's
just a little.
you know,
compared to this.
he's just a
Here's
a crafty dude.
Here's my
compared to
favorite.
this.
Are you ready?
No, I'm really
They
not.
also claimed there were people with holes in their skull and wooden spoons near them that would be used to stir their fucking brain.
That's like that's first
like the-
lobotomy.
That's the visceral.
Yeah, I didn't- How could you even survive that?
How
Like,
can you even conjure up an idea like that?
Yeah.
How does it cross your
And-
mind?
I mean, like, what could these people have done that would have like?
I have no idea. I have no
like,
idea.
That's not
Don't worry, the worst part is over. So, yeah.
good because
Jesus.
I mean, it's all fucking terrible. But
right. Again, we knew what we signed up for,
Yeah.
but that's
as with any scandal, the embellishments grow over time, so we really don't know what's true and what's exaggerated. But either way,
I'm going to, in my head, pretend
Say
that
it's
the majority of that is exaggerated. I would just like to believe that somebody wouldn't be
yeah.
that cruel and awful
Disgusting.
and disgusting.
So
and-
Kathe Bates did a great job playing a terrible monster.
Yeah.
Because that is definitely who she was.
right.
That is
Yeah.
Delphine who she was.
Delphine, who she was.
Oh God, Emily with the puns.
I know.
Oh.
She's punny.
When the discovery
That was terrifying. Somebody help me.
When the discovery of the abused slaves became widely known, a mob of around 400 locals attacked the
Hell yeah, bitch.
LaLaurie residence and demolished and destroyed basically everything. Police were called upon to disperse the crowd, but by the time the mob left, the property had sustained major damage and there was barely anything left of it. Delphine LaLaurie did have one loyal slave, and during the chaos, her enslaved coachman brought her carriage around, and she quickly and confidently got inside.
Oh, that's nice.
The angry mob of citizens tried to destroy the carriage and stab the horses to death, but they ended up
No.
getting
Don't- I
away.
mean-
They ended up getting away.
Okay.
well, I'm just like-
And they were
Yeah,
just
it's
trying
not
to
the
stop.
horse's
They were
fault.
trying to stop the horses.
I mean, I get it.
I
but
wouldn't stab
I'm
a
not
horse,
okay with the
but-
animal abuse.
Don't worry, they didn't. The slaves were taken to a local jail where they were available for public viewing because, that's what we do to people.
So basically, they
She
became,
got away.
and so they
History.
became a sideshow. Like, well, we can't show you Madame
Yeah.
LaLaurie, but look at the slaves
Yeah.
that survived. And are these the slaves that were like mutilated, or did they get those slaves help?
I don't know.
Ugh.
I don't have an answer. I don't know.
I just have a very love-hate relationship with the South, and
I
this is a
know.
big part of the hate.
The New Orleans Bee reported that by April 12th, which was 2 days after the fire, up to 4,000 people had attended to view the slaves to, quote, convince themselves of their sufferings. The Pittsfield Sun, citing the New Orleans Advertiser and writing several weeks after the evacuation of LaLaurie's slave quarters, claimed that 2 of the slaves found in the mansion had died since their rescue. So, what happened to Madame LaLaurie? American poet William Cullen Bryant wrote that he set sail for France out of New York on June 24th, 1834. And he mentions one of his passengers, quote, a pretty-looking Frenchwoman, a Madame LaLaurie. Many rumors circulated about her whereabouts. At the time, many people believed that she was being kept safe by relatives in small towns around the city. But most historians believe that she escaped to France. In 1888, there was a rumor that LaLaurie had died in France in a boar hunting accident. And I remember
I hope
Sean...
it got her like.
Well, she would have been almost 100 years old. Bitch, you're going on a boar hunting adventure at 100 and
yeah.
in 19...
no, but I would like to
1888.
believe that was true.
Yeah. In the
She's
late...
a vampire too,
Maybe.
and she got staked by the boar.
Oh. Yeah, I hope so.
The Vampire Slayer boar.
In the late...
Or the Vampire Slayer.
Boar...
We should
Right
make
now.
that T-shirt. Write that down, and just like have the like Madame LaLaurie's face with a boar horn just coming through it.
Yeah.
Is it a tusk? It's a tusk. Isn't
Tusk, yeah. In the late 1930s, Eugene Bax, who served as sexton to St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, which, by the way, is where Nicolas Cage's tomb is.
it? Which is a pyramid.
Pyramid tomb. He served as a sexton to the St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 until 1924. and discovered an old cracked copper plate in alley 4 of the cemetery that was hers, but I have no idea where it came from. One day found a new headstone that like he didn't know was there. Like, what the fuck is that? And I don't know if that's just lack of information.
And it had a plate on it that had belonged to her.
I'm going to read it. It gets really creepy.
What the fuck?
The inscription of the headstone read, quote, Madame LaLaurie, nee Marie Delphine McCarthy, DCD. Basically, the English translation of the inscription reads, Madame LaLaurie, born Marie Delphine McCarty, died in Paris, December 7th, 1842, at the age of 6 nothing. And I was like, 6 nothing. It was just like dash dash. And I looked up the picture and like her headstone is broken. So it doesn't actually have her age, which I just think is weird because nobody really knows when she died because her body was never found.
No,
so it just is creepy that it showed up.
You know, so that leads me to believe that she did not escape. She probably died somewhere in that time period.
Ducidi.
Sorry.
Ducidi. I can't say it right. Tori's saying it better than me. So it said died in Paris December 7th, 1842. According to French archives of Paris, however, she died on December 7th, 1849 at the age of 62.
Which would make sense.
Yes. Yeah. To this day, the body of Marie Delphine LaLaurie has never been found.
Either somebody erected a headstone with no body there, which we don't know, or they shipped her body back from Paris and she is there, and in which case that's where her body would be found.
Law and Order is where I'm learning
Law
things.
and Order.
Yeah, we learn all of our information from Law and Order and Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
While history remains unclear, the legend of Madame LaLaurie lives on today in stories, films, and television series. The LaLaurie mansion still stands today, and people consider it one of the most haunted properties in the country. Throughout the years, various landlords renovated the building. Several families even attempted to live there, including Jack Osborne. But none made it beyond a few months, reporting they heard horrible cries and groans calling out in the night.
But didn't Cage live there for a while?
I'm not done yet.
Oh. You just said nobody could stand to live there.
The original New Orleans mansion occupied by LaLaurie did not survive. The house was burned by that mob in 1834 and remained in a ruined state for at least another 4 years. It was rebuilt by Pierre Trastor after 1838 and assumed the appearance that it has today. Over the following decades, it has been used as a public high school, a conservatory for music, an apartment building, a refuge for young delinquents, a bar, a furniture store, and a luxury apartment building.
Jesus.
In 1894, a tenant who lived at the LaLaurie mansion when the house was being converted into apartments was brutally murdered in his room. They found his belongings ransacked as if someone had gone through them. But the police assumed he was a victim of robbery, even though nothing of value was found missing. An interesting account regarding this murder deals with the police interviewing neighbors about his disappearance. One of his friends claimed that he was having problems with, quote, spirits in his house.
Oh, God.
He claimed that his friend told him there was a demon in his house who wasn't going to rest until he had met his end. Yikes. And this is after LaLaurie. This is after
I
all
love
of
that
it.
you're like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yikes.
The LaLaurie mansion was, for a brief time, also a school for all girls. At first, it had been one of the few mixed schools, again, not my words, in the city of New Orleans, but politics during the Reconstruction era were convoluted, and the school was converted into a strictly all-girls African-American primary school. The entrance to the building bears iron grillwork, and inside the entryway is floored in black and white marble, and a curved mahogany-railed staircase runs the full 3 stories.
The LaLaurie house is the one where, like, the asshole on your trip kept ringing the bell, right?
Mhm.
Or he wasn't on your trip, but you know what I mean. The
Yeah.
asshole on your trip makes it
The
sound like it was
asshole-
Michael, and it was not husband Michael. It was some rando on the street in New Orleans thought it would be
Being
funny
such an
to
asshole.
ring the doorbell.
The curved mahogany-railed staircase runs the full 3 stories of the building. The second floor holds 3 large drawing rooms connected by ornamental sliding doors. In April 2007, actor Nicolas Cage bought the house for a sum of $3.45 million. To protect the actor's privacy, the mortgage documents were arranged in such a way that Cage's name did not appear on them. On November 13th, 2009, the property, then valued at $3.5 million, was listed for auction as a result of foreclosure and purchased by Regions Financial Corporation for $2.3 million.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
According to Ghost City Tours, although not everyone believes in psychics or mediums, there was one particular instance made known to the Ghost City Tours team in which someone on one of the ghost tours happened to be a medium. Throughout the entire night, she had sensed things about various locations before the tour guide even told the story. But within the first sight of the LaLaurie mansion, the medium sucked at a deep breath. Quote, "Such sadness," she whispered as she rocked back on her heels. Pulling out her phone, she proceeded to snap a picture of the mansion. Quote, "The bricked up window, that's not where the little girl fell out of." The tour guide paused simply because she hadn't gotten to the part of the story about the little girl at all. Nevertheless, she recovered quickly and said, "No, you're right. The story goes that Leah fell into the courtyard. As for the bricked up window, I suspect that someone did some interior decorating but wanted to maintain the symmetry of the outside of the home." In the next few minutes, the medium experienced such a heavy emotion, like a weight had settled down upon her shoulders. She sensed the spirit of a young boy who liked to play pranks in the living room. Oh, play pranks on the living, not in the living room. Sorry. Play pranks on the living, and the spirit of a little girl who was often nervous. The tour guide asked, did she feel any helplessness or anger? The medium replied, no. Whatever happened then with LaLaurie does not visit the house any longer. One of their guides even experienced something at the haunted house on Royal Street. On one occasion, a guide was giving a ghost tour. They were at the LaLaurie mansion, standing just directly across the front door. To their right, another group was discussing. Oh my God.
Emily's having a real rough time.
Guide was giving a ghost tour. Bunch of other tours near her. All of a sudden, the guide felt a tug on her messenger bag that was draped over her shoulder. She stopped right in the middle of her story and twisted to look over her shoulder, convinced that she might find a pickpocket or like someone trying to steal her shit. And she realized that it was a fucking not a pickpocket.
Nothing.
So she's like,
there.
Great, I'm telling the story. Okay, right in the middle of a tour, there's a fucking something getting out of my bag. Weird. Ghosty business.
Ghosty business.
No one was there, so she turned back around and got back into character. No less than 10 seconds later, she felt a tug again, harder this time, a really sharp yank. And once again, she whipped around, but no one was there. And when she looked back to everyone in the tour, they were all like, what the fuck? What just happened? Like, what the fuck just happened? Another story, 2 weeks later, a guide was out on the streets again, bringing another tour around the mansion. She had positioned her group under a set of street lamps, which had been burned out for weeks. She started telling her story, but the minute she said the name Leah, which is the little girl, the lamps flickered on. Everyone in the group paused, a few yelping in delight. The guide went on with the show, and when she said the name Leah again, the lamps blew out.
Malignant.
I feel like if that happened and I was there, I would assume that that was like part of the show.
So that is the terrible story of LaLaurie.
So you had said kind of at the beginning of the story, like, okay, so was Madame LaLaurie really as bad as the stories say, or was she just a misunderstood Southern woman?
Where was the misunderstanding?
Yeah.
I don't think there was one.
Okay. Even if it wasn't as graphic and awful as you just informed us, like,
Still
there has to be
fucking awful.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
I know.
I don't think that story came out of nowhere.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
So,
There's
like,
some sense of truth to it.
like there has to be at least at the minimum kernels of truth to it, which in and of itself, just even a kernel of that being true is horrifying. I'm hoping that that's the same thing with this.
Yes.
But that doesn't change the fact that, like I said, even kernels of that being true is horrifying.
It's no bueno.
Anyway, well,
So,
Emily, thank you.
You have got it.
We've got it.
Have now,
That
like,
was
you've
a
got
lot
it.
of New Orleans.
You now know everything I know about New Orleans history.
New Orleans. Because we were real mad. Like, well, we weren't real mad, but we were real jealous that she and husband went without us, and that she continued to message us the entire time.
I did.
Like,
Pictures.
we did. That's a really awesome thing. And then she'd be like, "Sucks to be you, bitches."
Yep.
That does sound like me.
Well, we're just here.
And we're like, I'm like sitting at my desk
sitting at my computer
working,
desk.
and I am like, oh my God, just got me through this day. And there's
Oh my
Emily.
God. Look at my
two,
daiquiri.
Holding 2 daiquiris, drinking them on the street, like, or chugging a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us for our New Orleans month of themed serial killer stories. Legends.
Legends is what these really were.
Yeah. Right.
It's just a totally different world. Totally different. It was amazing, you
A
guys.
whole new world. Something.
All
the way up here. It's crystal clear.
Dingle Hopper.
I don't know what's happening.
The little fucking mermaid.
That is not from Little
That
Mermaid.
is not from the mermaid. That is from Aladdin, asshole. Look at her. She's like so sure she was right. The Little Mermaid. They went up on
Flying.
the fucking cart.
Okay, so remember who you are and what you represent, and what you should represent is the correct Disney movie.
Know your 90s Disney animation movie.
Serious.
Fantastic. No.
I'm getting off this. I'm stopping.
Bye.
Goodbye, we love you.
You want thingamabobs? I got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. Love the sea. Wish I could be.
I'm just choosing not to look at you. Convinced. Excuse me. So,
I think I got hair up my nose, and I just
probably.
realized that you're gonna die when you look at it because I just went.
When the discovery
That was terrifying. When you watch that back, see how fucking terrifying that was. Oh my god. Oh my good god. Somebody help me.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We put out new episodes every single Wednesday, and if you're impatient like me, be sure to become a Patreon where you can get your episodes early each week. For as little as $2 a month, you not only significantly support the production of this podcast, but you'll also get ad-free episodes in addition to them being early. Go to patreon.com/threesacrime podcast. For pictures, videos, and links related to this episode, be sure to check out our Instagram at threesacrime. And for more information, go to threesacrime.com.